Most owners hear their dog cry when they leave and carry that sound with them for hours. It lands in the chest in a specific way. The particular weight of knowing someone you love is distressed and being unable to stay and fix it. Most owners respond to that weight by doing one of two things. They make the departure longer and more reassuring, or they leave faster to minimize the exposure. Neither of these helps. And the reason neither helps is the same reason the crying keeps happening, because the response has been aimed at the symptom rather than the thing generating it. Your dog is not crying because you left. She is crying because of what leaving means to her nervous system, and those are not the same thing. Understanding the difference is what changes everything. Not just the crying at the door, but the entire architecture of how she experiences the gap between your departure and your return. You know the sound, the particular register of it. Not aggressive, not demanding, but carrying something that lands as genuine distress regardless of how many times you have told yourself she is fine the moment you are out of earshot. Sometimes she is, and sometimes for some dogs she is not fine, and the crying is the surface expression of something that runs deeper than a sound at a door. By the end of this, you will know what is actually underneath it, and the specific evidence-based steps that address the root rather than managing the sound. Before the steps, the one distinction that determines which of two completely different problems you are dealing with, because they look the same from the outside and require different responses. There is the dog who cries at departure and settles within minutes. The vocalization is real. The distress is real in the moment, but it resolves as the arousal of the departure event fades, and the ordinary quiet of the house provides its own kind of reassurance. This dog is not in a sustained state of distress during your absence. She had a difficult transition and then found her equilibrium. And there is the dog who does not settle, whose distress continues, escalates, or cycles, pacing, vocalizing, destructive behavior, elimination, the physiological signatures of an animal whose nervous system has not found equilibrium because the thing it needed for equilibrium, is genuinely absent and her nervous system has not yet learned to tolerate that absence. These are different problems with different causes and different solutions. The first is a departure sensitivity. The second is closer to what behaviorists call separation-related distress, and it requires more than reassurance at the door. If your dog's distress appears to be sustained rather than transitional, a veterinarian or qualified behaviorist is the right next step alongside anything here, because what she is experiencing is genuinely hard, and she deserves targeted help. What follows addresses the root of both from the beginning. The first thing to understand is what the departure ritual is teaching her. She does not know you are leaving until she does. And the moment she does know, the keys, the shoes, the specific sequence of movements that precede the door closing, her nervous system begins its departure response before you have moved toward the door. The anticipatory distress, the pacing, the following you from room to room as you prepare. These are not the crying itself. These are the nervous system loading the crying. The departure ritual has been paired across every repetition with the state of being alone. And the state of being alone, for a dog whose attachment is organized around your presence, is a significant physiological event, not chosen, not prepared for, simply arrived at when the door closes. What the ritual can be changed to teach is the opposite. Not that leaving is followed by the difficult thing, but that certain signals reliably predict your return, rather than your absence. Not that the door closing is the beginning of the hard part, but that it is a temporary and completely predictable event that has always reversed. The second thing, and the one most owners are inadvertently making worse, is the quality of the departure itself. The prolonged goodbye carries emotional weight, she reads clearly. The guilt in your voice, the sustained eye contact, the repeated reassurance in the register that you use when something is genuinely wrong. She receives all of it, and what she receives is confirmation that the leaving is an occasion for distress. You are, with the best possible intentions, providing evidence that her response is appropriate. The calm, matter-of-fact departure is not coldness. It is information. The specific information that this is ordinary, a routine event that does not require either of you to treat it as a loss. Your regulated body at departure is the single most powerful message you can send about what the departure means. If you are not troubled by it, she has less evidence that she should be. Practice the departure without leaving. Put on your shoes and sit down. Pick up your keys and put them back. Open the door and close it. Do this enough times, spread across enough ordinary moments that the departure signals decouple from the prediction of absence, that the keys and shoes stop being reliable predictors of the hard thing and become neutral events that sometimes lead to nothing at all. This is the piece most owners miss entirely. Desensitization to departure cues is one of the most consistently effective early interventions for departure-related distress, and it requires nothing except repetition, patience, and the willingness to occasionally put your shoes on for no reason. The third thing is what happens in the space of the absence itself. A dog who has not been prepared to be alone has not been given the skill of being alone. Not the tolerance, not the practiced capacity for self-regulation in the absence of the person her nervous system is organized around. She is not failing to cope. She has not been taught to cope. And coping for a dog is a learned capacity that builds through graduated experience, not through exposure to the full difficulty all at once. Begin with short absences, shorter than the point at which distress begins. Leave for 2 minutes. Return before the crying starts, before the nervous system has loaded its full response. And return calmly, without the greeting that rewards the relief of your return with a level of emotional engagement that confirms the departure was significant. The return. As much as the departure is part of what she is learning, a return met with immediate high arousal teaches her that the departure and return cycle is an intense emotional event. A return that is warm but low-key, I am back. This is ordinary. Nothing dramatic happened. Teaches her that the cycle is manageable, that you leave and you come back. And the world does not require a physiological event around either direction. Extend the absences gradually, not on a schedule, on her performance. The next absence is slightly longer when the current one is being tolerated without distress. The progression follows her nervous system, not your timeline. Pushing faster than she can integrate produces more distress practice rather than less, more rehearsal of the crying and the distress state, which deepens the groove rather than wearing it smooth. Long-term behavioral observation of dogs in systematic absence training has found that the graduated approach, short absences extended based on tolerability, produces durable reduction in departure-related distress at a significantly higher rate than either flooding through long absences or management without systematic exposure. She is not going to think her way out of this. She's going to experience her way out of it, one tolerable absence at a time. The fourth thing is what the space of the absence contains. A dog left in an empty house, with nothing to do but wait, has only one thing to focus on: the absence. The environment is not providing anything that competes with the awareness of being alone. The crying is partly the sound of an animal whose mental and physical occupation has been removed along with the person who provided most of it. Something to do with the nose, a scatter feeding, a snuffle mat, a food puzzle that requires engagement and takes time, gives her nervous system something to process other than the absence. Not as a distraction in the dismissive sense, as genuine occupation for a brain that was built to work and is currently asked to wait with nothing to work on. The food puzzle that appears only during absences also begins to build a new association. The absence predicts the specific, enjoyable activity that only happens during absences. The departure, over enough repetitions, shifts from predicting the hard thing to predicting the thing she has learned to look forward to. That association shift is slow. It requires consistency, and it is one of the most reliable routes to a dog who greets the departure with interest rather than distress. Most owners approach the crying with the goal of stopping it. The sound as the problem, the silence as the solution. The dog who no longer cries at the door as the dog whose problem has been solved. Flip that. The goal is not a dog who does not cry. The goal is a dog who does not need to cry, because her nervous system has been given the specific, graduated, consistent experience of tolerating your absence and finding it manageable, not through suppression of the crying. Through building one short absence at a time, the actual capacity for the kind of ease that does not produce the crying in the first place. That capacity is buildable. In almost every dog, regardless of history, regardless of how entrenched the pattern currently is, it is built slowly. It is built by you, through the calm departure, the graduated absence, the return that confirms everything is ordinary, and the daily small choices that say to her nervous system, you are safe here. You are safe even when I am not here. I have always come back. I will keep coming back. Think about what she is trying to tell you with the crying. Not that you are a bad owner for leaving, not that she is broken or badly trained or fundamentally unable to cope. She is telling you that her nervous system has not yet learned something that it can learn, that the absence is temporary, that the return is reliable, that the world without you in it for a few hours is a manageable world. She does not know yet that it is manageable. She only knows what her experience has taught her. And her experience has been that the departure produces distress, and the distress is real, and no one has yet shown her a different version of the same event. You can show her. Not today, not in a single departure, across the small, patient, consistent repetitions of a dog who is gradually learning that the most frightening thing in her world, the door closing behind you, is not the beginning of something unbearable. It is just the part before you come back. And you always come back. Is your dog's crying at departure a quick transition or something that seems to last? And have you tried anything that helped, even partially? Tell me in the comments. If your dog's distress seems serious or sustained, please reach out to a vet or qualified behaviorist. This video is a starting point, not a substitute for professional support. If this is the kind of understanding you want to keep building, subscribing means the next one finds you.